A windowless room, concrete walls, the smell of cold tobacco and sweat. 84 Avenue Foch, Paris, SD headquarters. A British agent sits handcuffed to a wooden chair beneath a bare bulb. His wrists ache, his shoulders burn. He has already been searched 3 times, his pockets turned inside out, his shoes cut open, his belt stripped away. The Germans are meticulous, professionals. They have taken everything, everything, except the 2-inch blade stitched into the lining of his jacket lapel. This is the story of Britain's smallest weapon of the Second World War, a knife so small it weighed less than 40 grams, so discreet it could survive the most obsessive security police search, and, according to Fairbairn's combat literature, deadly enough to cause unconsciousness in seconds if it found a major blood vessel. The lapel knife was never meant to win fights. It was meant to create a rupture, a violent interruption, a single heartbeat of chaos, a split-second opening when all other options were gone. By 1941, Britain's Special Operations Executive faced a problem no conventional weapon could solve. SOE agents parachuted into occupied Europe, carrying pistols, explosives, and radios. They carried the suppressed well-rod pistol, plastic explosives disguised as coal, radios small enough to hide inside suitcases. Britain had armed its agents with everything required to fight a war from the shadows. But the moment an agent was captured, all of that equipment vanished. German security police were experts in prisoner searches. The SD, the SIPO, the apparatus prisoners simply called the Gestapo. They confiscated weapons, they stripped clothing, they examined shoes, belts, watch straps, every seam, every fold that might conceal something useful. They found everything, and then the interrogations began. Avenue Foch in Paris, Prince Albrechtstrasse in Berlin, regional headquarters across occupied Europe. Captured agents faced weeks or months of questioning, sleep deprivation, beatings, water torture. The Germans wanted names, resistance contacts, safe houses, weapons caches, radio frequencies and transmission schedules, information that could collapse entire SOE networks overnight. Some agents broke, some held out until they died, but almost none escaped because an unarmed prisoner handcuffed in a guarded room deep inside enemy headquarters has no options. Guards are armed, doors are locked, the building is filled with enemies. SOE needed to give their agents one final option, a weapon that could not be found, a weapon that could be reached even when restrained, a weapon small enough to hide in plain sight, yet lethal enough to buy a single chance at freedom. They turned to 2 men who had spent decades studying how to kill at arm's length. William Ewart Fairbairn and Eric Anthony Sykes arrived at Station 12, Aston House, Hertfordshire in late 1940. Fairbairn had spent more than 20 years with the Shanghai Municipal Police, patrolling some of the most violent streets on Earth. His body carried knife scars from countless encounters. He had studied jiu-jitsu, Chinese boxing, and Western fighting systems, blending them into a method designed for one purpose only: survival through violence. Sykes had served beside him, training Shanghai's sniper unit. Together, they had already designed the Fairbairn-Sykes fighting knife, the 7-inch commando dagger that would become the most iconic blade of the war. But 7 inches of steel could not survive a German search. Guards would find it in a pocket, in a boot, strapped to a leg. The fighting knife was too large. So Fairbairn and Sykes went smaller, much smaller. According to Lieutenant Colonel Leslie Cardoza, commanding officer of Station 12, the 2 men invented what became known as the thumb knife or lapel knife during their time at Aston House. Curiously, Fairbairn's official service record lists every weapon he designed: the fighting knife, the Kosh spring baton, the spike necklace, but makes no mention of the lapel knife. Some researchers believe Eric Sykes deserves primary credit for these assassination-oriented, concealed weapons. One private collector reportedly owns a lapel dagger bearing what appears to be Sykes's Chinese chop, his personal stamp, though such claims are difficult to verify. Whatever the attribution, the design was brutally simple. A blade between 1.5 and 2.5 inches long. No traditional handle, just a narrow metal grip, roughly the width of a thumb. Some were double-edged, others were single-edged with a sharpened false edge. All were optimized for rapid, deep thrusts. Total length under 4 inches, weight approximately 40 grams, lighter than a mobile phone, smaller than a pen. The genius lay in the sheath. Made from thin metal or leather, it featured multiple small holes along its edge. These allowed the sheath to be sewn directly into clothing, into a jacket lapel, a shirt collar, a trouser seam, the lining of a coat. The knife became part of the garment itself. Later accounts suggest H.G. Long and Company of Sheffield manufactured most production blades, while Arthur Akers, a local cobbler in Aston, produced the leather sheaths. Some variants included a small lanyard loop that wrapped around the agent's finger, ensuring the blade could not be dropped during a struggle. Several variants emerged. The standard lapel knife measured roughly 3 inches overall. The sleeve dagger extended beyond 6 inches, featuring a square-section spike designed purely for thrusting. The most ingenious variant was the insole dagger, a curved 5.5-inch blade hidden inside a shoe, retrieved by pulling a concealed cord. All shared a matte black finish. All were designed to vanish during searches. If you're finding this fascinating, consider subscribing. It costs nothing, takes a second, and helps keep these deep dives alive. Now, what were agents trained to do with such a blade? SOE schools taught lapel knife use with terrifying precision. At training facilities like Arisag in Scotland and Beaulieu in Hampshire, instructors introduced what Fairbairn called the timetable of death. It was a diagram of the human body showing major arteries, how deep beneath the skin they lay, and how quickly unconsciousness would follow if severed. The carotid artery, just 2 centimeters beneath the skin, 5 seconds to unconsciousness, 12 seconds to death. The subclavian artery beneath the collarbone, even faster. Students memorized these figures, practiced the motion until instinct replaced thought. Lightning fast, instructors demanded. Your life depends on beating the guard's hand to his pistol. The thumb dagger grip involved looping the lanyard around the index finger, pinching the blade between thumb and forefinger. Control, retention, ruthless efficiency. They trained on dummies, sandbags, sides of beef. Modern medical analysis shows these timings were optimistic at best. Rex Applegate, Fairbairn's American protege, later admitted the timetable wasn't medically accurate. Its real purpose was psychological. Agents needed belief, confidence, the knowledge that even stripped of everything, they still had a chance. The intended scenario was grimly specific. An agent restrained during interrogation, hands cuffed, limited movement, a guard standing close. The blade comes free, one strike, throat, arm, hand reaching for a weapon. Not a guaranteed escape, just disruption. Seconds of chaos to seize a gun, break restraints, reach a door. In a building full of enemies, that might be all there was. History becomes frustratingly silent here. Despite exhaustive searches through declassified SOE files, agent memoirs, and post-war German interrogations, no verified account exists of a captured agent using a lapel knife against interrogators. The dramatic image endures, but remains legend rather than documented fact. What records do show is resistance. Frank Pickersgill, a Canadian SOE agent captured in 1943, attempted escape from SD headquarters at Avenue Foch. He attacked guards with a broken wine bottle, killed 1 or 2, leapt from a second-story window, broke his arm, and was shot repeatedly. Improvised weapons, not concealed blades. That absence of proof does not mean failure. It reveals the knife's true purpose: insurance. A last card you hope never to play. No comparable German program for sewn-in microdaggers has ever been identified. When the American OSS formed in 1942, they adopted the British designs wholesale. The lapel knife embodied SOE's philosophy from the start: set Europe ablaze. When agents faced capture, torture, and death, Britain gave them every possible advantage, even one weighing 40 grams and hidden in a coat collar. At Station 15, tailors stitched the weapons into continental clothing. Every detail mattered: stitching, fabric, cut. German searchers knew British tailoring methods. One wrong thread could expose an agent, but a properly hidden blade vanished. Today, original SOE lapel knives are exceedingly rare. The Imperial War Museum holds examples. Auctions occasionally surface pieces with contested provenance. Reproductions vastly outnumber originals. The weapon designed to be invisible has mostly disappeared, but its idea remains. In the shadowed rooms of occupied Europe, in the hands of agents who knew they might never return, a 2-inch blade sewn into a jacket lapel represented something the Germans could never take. One final option, one hidden chance, the possibility, however slim, of turning the tables. That was British engineering. That was SOE.